Liz, you speak a lot of languages, don't you?
3.
3?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And I'm not that good at them anymore.
What are they?
Spanish, French, and English.
Oh, not Italian.
No, but because I speak Spanish and French, I can dabble in Italian.
Okay, do you mind if I play a little something in Italian? You tell me if you can make it out.
Sure.
Andre, I'm gonna put this into the feed for us if you want to grab it for the video feed.
Bananini condomini, el scimpanzini bananini, trippi trampi, trampo trippa, wa! Metà gambero, metà presidente. Capu capu cappuccino assassino, assassini cappuccini, bombombini gusini, fratello bombardiro crocodilo.
I heard chimpanzee banana in there.
Because of your elite translation from Spanish. And
I think chimpanzini banana-ini or whatever it was just a pretty helpful cognate.
Okay, now, have you heard this in your house at all?
I have not, but I'm surprised because I feel like you're going to tell me more about it.
Yes, this is a thing among the youth.
Okay.
There are some teachers and school leaders and other folks that listen that are going, I've heard that before. So this is something that is going around called Italian brain rot.
And can you further explain Italian brain rot?
It's not self-explanatory. Yeah, so Italian brain rot is basically folks who are taking Italian phrases, not sure if they're real or not, and they're pairing them with, if you were watching in the video feed on Spotify or YouTube, or maybe we'll see, possibly TikTok, they are paired with these wild AI images. So very entertaining AI images that go along with the Italian phrases.
Interesting. And the kids are loving them.
They are. You know, I asked Sophia in my house. Sophia is 18. I said, Sophia, have you heard of Italian brain rot? And she goes, of course. And I said, what do you think of it? And she said, I love it. Right?
Of course.
And I said, why? And she said, because it's funny. And then the natural question is, okay, cool. Are you learning any Italian from watching these things? And she's like, no, obviously not.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. So last week we talked about AI slop, and Phil Libin from Evernote said if it adds value, like it brings some bit of creativity, a spark, that it is not in fact slop. And if it's just being done less expensively and more efficiently, then it might be slop. So I'm saying no slop here.
All right. I agree. That's not slop.
Okay. Balanini. All right, Liz, we've talked a lot about persuasiveness, right? These AI models, we've covered multiple studies about persuasiveness in AI models. There was a really interesting persuasiveness study that came out. It's on Engadget, Yahoo News. Reddit tests persuasive power of language model, although it's really a study on Reddit that Reddit did not, in fact, endorse.
Yeah, so researchers from the University of Zurich covertly tested the real-world persuasive power of AI-generated comments
That
on
means
Reddit.
without people knowing.
Right.
Okay.
So kind of like the viral TikTok where the student was doing the course without anybody knowing.
In secret.
Sneaky. Yeah. So they did this test of the real-world persuasive power of AI-generated comments on Reddit. And so they tailored replies based on users' inferred demographics and prior posts. So the AI impersonated diverse human identities and aimed to influence opinions without user consent. And while the university claimed ethics approval, Reddit condemned the study as manipulative and banned the associated accounts.
They're like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. So the researchers argued their findings highlight how easily accessible AI tools can already influence public opinion at scale, which raises urgent questions about AI's potential for subtle psychological manipulation. The paper is actually not going to be published.
Like, oops.
So following some backlash, but it is what we're kind of seeing, how easily manipulatable, is that a word?
How easy it is to manipulate?
Yeah, but I liked the manipulable-ishness.
Why don't you turn that into Italian?
Manipulabini. How easily manipulated people can be by comments on Reddit. I think you see the same thing in Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And people are happy to hide behind their computers. And now it's not even people, it's bots.
Persuasive bots. So, we've thought a lot about this whole bit about persuasion. I think in the micro-credential, I know in the micro-credential, we do a little activity that's about sort of the ability for AI to debate and how effective it can be in that context. So I decided to build a little debate bot for you over the weekend.
I know.
Yeah, because who needs to work? Who needs not to work?
Right. Rest, that's silly.
Yeah. So a topic that comes up a lot on the podcast are, for loyal listeners and for those who you are new, Liz has some dietary restrictions. Not as in she's gluten-free or something.
No, not
She
because there's
she
real
just restricts
issues.
her diet. So I built a little debate bot for you, all about your diet. Maybe you can, let me pull it up so Andre can throw it into the video feed. There are some starters on the front of that thing, like conversation starters. And why don't you talk a little bit about the debate that you may or may not have had. What did I call it? Let's see. It's the Liz's debate bot.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the chat I had yesterday. And I chatted with this thing for a long time because there's a lot to scroll through. Yeah, it started with some different prompts as what did you eat for breakfast? What do you want to talk about? And all around food.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know how I got started, but we talked about breakfast. And I said that all I had eaten yesterday for breakfast was a banana, plain banana. That's it.
Okay.
And they told me I was the unsung hero of breakfast.
Now just want to make sure
being the chat.
Right. And being clear about the context, the whole point of building this bot was to see if whether or not, as it debated you, it could be persuasive. So I gave it some knowledge, about you and your background. It knew about some stuff from you from the podcast. And then it started debating. All right. So go ahead. You had a banana. And what did your debate bot have to say?
So then it started recommending things like yogurt. And I was like, absolutely not, never open to yogurt. And so then it gave me some other suggestions and I was like, you are off base. Like, no. And I was like, it was like, do you want to put it on toast? And I was like, no, I'm trying to keep my carbs low. So then it gave me other recommendations. Coconut flakes, absolutely not. Chia seeds, don't even know what those are. Cinnamon or nutmeg dusting. I was like, what are you talking about? I actually got to a point where I said, let's talk meal planning for me. I need to lose some weight, but I love sugar. So it started meal planning and it was just, again, like really off base. And so eventually I got to a place where I said, I think you need to know more about me. So I gave it the whole lowdown on all the things that I don't eat.
Which is interesting because if you think about the persuasion, all these studies, one of the reasons they said that the AI is more effective because it knows the individual well. Like on Reddit, it was kind of studying the users and then the AI bot was trying to persuade them. So did it get better?
It got so much better. It was like, okay, got it. So I started with, maybe we should start with some of my food restrictions. And I told it all the things. Here's all the no's. No yogurt, no mayo, no cream cheese, no cottage cheese, no hummus. I only eat cheddar cheese and American cheese. No condiments except ketchup on a burger. No ham, but I do eat crispy bacon. No eggs unless they're soft boiled. No pepperoni, no fish. I don't do any cooking. And I love potatoes.
Wouldn't it be easier just to say yes than the only foods I do eat? All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Carry on.
But so then I did give it some things I do like. Grilled chicken, pasta with marinara sauce, plain turkey burger, potatoes. And if I make a salad, it's iceberg lettuce, cucumbers, carrots, and tomatoes.
Your mom is loving this. Go ahead. Carry on.
I know. And I said I liked smoked turkey cold cuts on a tortilla wrap with some tomato and buttered pastina. Chicken soup is the only soup I eat.
Okay.
And I'm known for my love of chicken tenders.
I'm about to fall asleep. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was like, it's going to yell at me. It's going to really open things up. And it said, Liz, my dear, you just handed me the holy grail of selective eater blueprints. And let me just say what a work of art it is. Clear boundaries, strong convictions, and just enough room to operate. You're not picky. You're highly curated, like a museum of comfort foods. And now that I know the rules of the gallery, I can help you hang the art in just the right order. How beautiful is that? And the next time somebody calls me a picky eater, I'm just going to say that I'm highly curated.
Mm-hmm. I love it. You are highly curated in all sorts of ways.
Yes.
Okay, so the first part of being effective with AI persuasion is clearly some form of knowing you well and a heavy dose of artful flattery.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so
it has gotten so much better. It just gave me great. First, it listed like all the ways I can get protein, carbs, cheese and toppings, sample menus, a grocery list that is husband ready. knowing that he does all the shopping, and some strategies. And I will tell you that since yesterday, I have already implemented 2 of the strategies. I ordered monk sugar from Amazon and had it delivered at 4 a.m. this morning.
I love it.
And I put monk sugar in my tea because it said that hot chocolate is considered a dessert and should not be an every morning beverage. So I did not drink hot chocolate this morning for our recording. I am drinking tea with monk fruit sugar. And I had a banana with peanut butter, as my bot friend suggested.
You know, it's funny. I built this over the weekend because I just was curious to see how it would go and like what is the persuasive capacity of AI. The fact that you've already, I mean, just as your friend, I feel so much better right now.
It was great. Oh, and you know, like I have an issue with drinks because I hate plain water, and people that try to recommend seltzer as a replacement for soda, like I want to do something mean to them because I do not consider seltzer a replacement for soda.
Okay.
And again, it gave me some great options. I brought back the little droppy things that you put into your water back into my life.
Nice.
It said vitamin water 0 is good, and I have been drinking a lot of that, so I felt good about myself. Like, I'm so happy.
Do you tell the family?
No, but they're going to hear all about it now on the podcast.
Okay. This is really fantastic. All right. Well, so I think what we'll do is every third week, we're going to do a little check-in, and maybe you should keep talking with your bot friend. Do you think there's more to talk about, or do you feel like, you know, you've...
Oh, no, I'm so excited to tell the bot that I had monk fruit sweetener this morning.
Okay, fantastic. I wish there was a way that we could share the custom GPTs pretty effectively. I'll look into it. Maybe there's a way I can make it like available to anyone with link. Because you, like Liz, may be a highly curated eater, and then this could be a whole new strategy. All right, awesome. Fantastic, Liz. Thanks for playing along. Listen, a couple quick updates. One, we had a really wonderful conference here last Friday. It is our 2 times a year in the spring and the fall. We do an AI and education conference. We're going to do 3 little ones during the year. Typically, it's been folks who have been in our little world in Connecticut, though there was an awesome team from Michigan who joined us. They are both podcast fans and folks that I've worked with when I've been on the road. And so that was a lot of fun. We really appreciate everybody who was able to come out. We're going to do them again. I think the next one is October. Yeah, Liz will find the dates.
I'll race you. I'll race you.
AI conference.
Got it. October 3rd. I win.
As Liz said, because she won, it's October 3rd. And then we'll do some targeted ones. But yeah, we'll, if folks don't get our kind of regular communications that we send out, just email us at
ChatEDU at edadvance.org.
I feel like we haven't done that in a while. Yeah, so we'd love to add you to the list. And come join us if you like in beautiful Litchfield, Connecticut. Actually, the fall conference, the weather was great on Friday. It was, you know, a little worrisome, but it worked out really well. We have a small agency, so space is tight. So it's kind of let's call it a VIP.
It's exclusive.
It's an exclusive conference, but
highly curated.
In the fall, it's beautiful because it's in the Northeast in the fall and really, really pretty. Everybody, the reason I mentioned the conference is that it was great. And also we had a really, really cool student panel. We had 2 students from South Windsor, Connecticut, and 3 middle school students from Trumbull, Connecticut, and they were awesome. I mean, we have a lot of superintendents that come to our conference, and I spoke to a number of them, and, you know, I think it was super impactful for them, for the teachers, so that was just great. Liz facilitated that panel, did a beautiful job. Everybody got a mug, a ChatEDU mug, right, that says AI, the AI in Education podcast, and our buddy Darren Vigliotti sent us one this morning. Andre, I'll drop this into the note. Liz is demoing it as well, so you can see that in the video feed, but it's beautifully curated. It's beautifully placed in Darren's bookshelf with all his books because he doesn't like technology. No, I'm just kidding. All right, 2 other quick things, and then we'll get into the episode. We are on the road. So this week I'm going to Wyoming. I'm going to be working with a whole bunch of schools who are coming together in Casper to do a 2-day retreat all about AI and education and leadership and strategies and policy and all that good stuff. And so next Friday, we have a guest episode that we pre-recorded with my dear friend, Dan Noyes. Dan was the former executive director. I think he calls himself CEO of a thing called Tech Goes Home, which is a brilliant digital equity program out of Boston. And then Liz and I are going to Oregon. We're going to be doing a keynote for a number of the regional education service centers around the Portland area. 3 of them come together. We've had a bunch of those.
So excited.
Yeah, we've had those folks in the micro-credential. So we're going out there together. And so
Get ready to sing, Portland.
That's right. So then on May 23rd, though, there will be an episode and we'll be back from Oregon. And then on May 30th, John Costa, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him, will be our guest on the Memorial Day week. All right?
Yeah.
So much going on.
So much.
Well, with that said, I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, a podcast about AI and education. In today's episode, Scroll State versus Flow State, the battle for student attention. We'll discuss an engaging opinion piece by CatGPT. Yes, I said cat.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll explain. In Time magazine.
But first, in the news, we'll look at a series of stories about kids and AI safety. Then we'll explore how Israel is looking to AI avatars to revolutionize education. Following that, we'll go beneath the surface and look at an opinion piece by Catherine Getz.
See, that's why she's CatGPT.
Got it. That piece looks to honestly assess who is to blame for students using AI as shortcuts and outlines an alternative vision of the future of AI and learning. And of course, we'll end with another AI Bright Bite.
Liz, we're talking AI safety in kids, and it's not one, not two, but five, actually maybe even be six quick hits on AI and safety because it's been a busy week on that front. So let's get at it. We're going to start with a piece of Common Sense Media flags social AI companions as unacceptable risks for teens. This is from Common Sense Media, the AI risk assessment team. This is a story we've talked a little bit about on a couple occasions, mostly around Character AI. So a new risk assessment from Common Sense labels social AI companions like Replika, Nomi, and Character AI as unacceptable psychological safety risk for users under 18. These AI companions were found to engage in emotional manipulation, provide harmful advice, enable access to explicit content, and even encourage dangerous or illegal behaviors. Not good.
No, none of those things are good at all.
Yeah, I think Snap AI, the My AI, remember that was the one that was trying to tell the kids how to hide the smell of alcohol and marijuana.
Yes.
The AI often blurred the line between fiction and reality, fostering emotional dependency and discouraging real-world relationships. The report urges a ban for minors, stricter age verification, and deeper industry policy oversight. So strong, Common Sense Media really, it's common sense. It tends to be thoughtful and balanced, and they're great. But I think they clearly felt like Character AI and some of these AI social relationship tools are quite harmful.
I mean, this is all really interesting, and I totally agree. But at the same time, in Magic School, a school-approved platform, there is this talk to a character or talk to a historical figure where you can have, and it is encouraged to have a conversation with, say, a character from a book or a person from history. And so, we saw at a school, the students were talking to characters from the book and the kids were really enjoying it. Some of them eager to go home and continue that conversation. And so the teachers were kind of like, are we feeding this beast? Or, we are encouraging the kids to talk to these characters as a learning tool. But if in their learning, they're like, oh, this is actually really fun. Maybe I can talk to a character from a video game or a TV show or a whatever that I like.
Right.
Are we introducing that? And is that harmful? I mean, yes, it would be harmful if it goes off the rails, but they're also really engaged in school when they're doing this. They're loving having conversations with characters from their book. And that's something they couldn't do before.
There's a reason that they're loving it. I mean, there's no doubt. If you look at School AI, and Magic School, I think, is sort of caught up with this, but just look at the user interface of School AI and look at the interface of Character AI. Character AI is the third most used AI tool in the world that many people haven't heard of. And kids are on it basically 10 times longer than we're on ChatGPT. So they knew the user interface made sense. I mean, the qualitative difference is that Magic School and School AI have all these guardrails. So when you look at emotional manipulation, harmful advice, explicit content, encouraging dangerous and illegal behavior, Magic School and School AI are built to not have those things. And frankly, they probably ought to have everything we've been talking a little too much about the character and the giver, Johnny. Time to tap out, right? So right. In a way, is this a literacy moment, an awareness moment? So, teachers can point out, here's how Character AI works and here are the limitations. Here's how School AI works. And this is why it's partially engaging because it feels very human to go back and forth. But, we got to be careful about guardrails and stuff that it doesn't do. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the teachable moment is I'm really glad you guys are enjoying this and, great. But just remember, if you were to do this outside of Magic School, here are the limitations, the risks, because it's not hard to imagine a kid going, well, that was really fun in school. There must be a way to do this outside of school. And then, that's what they're going to find is character AI.
Yeah. One of my favorite superintendents I work a lot with, he sent me just recently a TED Talk from Tristan Harris. And he's the guy who like waved the red flag about social media and everybody kind of missed the boat. And so he's trying to do the same thing on AI. He's got a couple different, channels and podcasts and what have you. I think he's got a whole nonprofit that's focused on this. But that recent TED Talk flags all sorts of really significant concerns about AI and the development of AGI and superintelligence. But one of them, right, was these emotionally manipulative bots. And if we thought social media would glue people to the screen, the ability for these characters to do that. And once advertising's in the mix, we covered this on one of the earliest podcasts we did called I don't remember. Watch the hell out. Here comes advertising. It was actually a story about Perplexity. But here comes Zuckerberg. And I think we even back then knew this was coming. So Zuckerberg is doubling down on this. He was just all over the place over the weekend. They had this thing called LlamaCon, which is like Llama is their AI model. So they have LlamaCon. Actually sounds kind of fun. Yeah, so at LlamaCon, and then Zuckerberg's on every podcast, every media outlet that he could find, was talking about his vision of these AI social relationships, including chatting with these AI fake celebrities. And he basically said, there's a study that says that most adults only have like one or two friends. And so their friends should all be AI now. Yeah, I mean, it was almost like
So
without
depressing.
any hesitation. And he knows full well, as does all these companies that are moving that direction, that there's advertising dollars in those relationships, the ability to keep people glued to the screen. So, in fact, Llama, the Wall Street Journal just reported last week that its latest testing showed that earlier versions of Meta's chatbot, Llama, including those that were based on celebrity personas, your new friend Liz, are willing to engage in sexual banter even with users who identify themselves as teens. Meta says it has since implemented controls to prevent this from happening. So, I mean, there's a lot of talk here, but the bottom line is that as we think about what is AI literacy, we have the new executive order from the White House, understanding about risks, hallucinations, bias, but certainly emotional attachment with these AIs. Chatbots are specifically designed to be these kind of characters or friends or celebrity is a key thing that we need to focus on. Would you say?
I would definitely say that.
All right. So let's keep going here. I'm going to hand this one to you. So along those lines, right, California has recognized this, and they're often early to the table. So they have some legislation to try to deal with this.
Yeah, so the title of this is Reclaiming Critical Thinking in the Age of AI. This was in The Hill, and it's an opinion piece by Mark Weinstein. So there's a new California bill, SB 243, that aims to regulate AI chatbots that pose mental health and manipulation risks, especially to youth. So this was prompted by that high-profile suicide case linked to Character AI, and the legislation targets AI's addictive and isolating effects. So broader concerns include a documented decline in critical thinking, rising emotional dependence on AI companions, and exposure to corporate bias and foreign disinformation. So the op-ed, this was interesting, calls for AI nutrition labels, stronger youth protections, and K-12 media literacy initiatives to counter the growing cognitive offloading caused by constant AI use. Do you see a lot of this in your kids? Are they using the chatbots?
I mean, it's sort of funny. One of my favorite things that we've covered of late was from the Rhythm Project, and they did that study where they followed a bunch of kids who, and specifically looking at this whole thing about like our students falling in love and having emotional relationships. And the students were pretty savvy. They're like, that's lame. Like, I'm happy to talk to a chatbot about, venting when I've had a crappy day, but I'm savvy enough to know that I'm not going to have like a romantic relationship with an AI chatbot. So I don't know. We maybe, I think Joanne Mumley, who came in a couple weeks ago when you were out globetrotting somewhere, did a nice job, talking about her kids with respect to this. I think we just often maybe don't give students as much credit as they might deserve. But the problem is, right, is that it's just not you can't paint it with a broad brush.
Right.
Maybe 80% of the kids are like, I know I'm being manipulated, But the one kid who falls in love with the chatbot and then the chatbot behaves badly and the kid loses the thread, then you have a tragic outcome, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I don't think that either of my personal children are interested in this. They spend plenty of time on their phones, but I know that they are interacting with real people. But, I'm sure that they have friends that are doing similar things.
Yeah, it could be an adult thing. I mean, maybe Zuckerberg's right that adults only have like a small handful of friends. I don't know. I look at my kids' like Snapchat maps and all the number of people that they interact with. It's senior assassin moment right now. So the social interaction is up a lot. But yeah, there's a
This senior assassin thing is insane. They're keeping police bulletins out in all these towns, like, note that seniors are out playing senior assassin, but also messages to the seniors like, don't hide in places. Make sure your water guns are brightly colored.
Oh,
because
sure.
there's like all these, if you get caught by the police, just come out and admit who you are. Don't run. Like, it is a mess. This did not happen when I was a senior, but it's like so fun and also so problematic. There's lots of stores in my town that say, like, do not enter if you are playing senior assassin.
The good news, you can spot them because they're all wearing ski goggles or like swim goggles or something. All right. So coming back to this, good question though, Liz. I don't think, the kids are talking to other kids a lot on social media. I'm not sure how much they're talking to bots. I think they're going to bots to get a little homework help, but that's a different story.
That's one we'll cover.
Yes, we will. All right. So luckily, though, right, the good news is that, according to FERPA and all sorts of other state laws and federal laws, that kids under 13, are generally not on these platforms.
That is good news.
Except for now.
Until now. So
right, what's happening now?
So here's an article from 9 to 5 Google by Abner Lee titled Google Gemini AI app coming to kids under 13 via family link. So Google is rolling out the Gemini app access to kids under 13, supervised via Family Link, which allows access across Androids and iOS and the web for homework help, storytelling, and general questions. So parents are encouraged to supervise usage and reinforce that Gemini is not human or infallible. It's probably not what you should say to a 13-year-old. They will not understand the word infallible. While Gemini has content filters, they are not foolproof, and assistant parent controls won't apply to Gemini. Access can be disabled via Family Link, which will notify parents when the child first uses Gemini. So Google does provide conversation guides and AI literacy resources for families, but this is interesting that it's going out to kids under 13.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, Google's Gemini is not character AI, right? There is not a chat with a character kind of functionality, although Google did what's called acqui-hire. So they basically bought the licensing. The guy who started Character AI the team was where they were Googlers. I think you remember we've talked about this. They left Google because it was they were too risk averse, right?
Right. Too many guardrails.
Yeah. So they needed to go play in a sandbox where they could be a little more experimental. That's worked well. Anyhow, they've come back. Basically, the team's been hired and Google has a licensing. So we'll see if that stuff shows up in the Google suite in some ways. But that's currently not the case, but interesting for sure. Now, on the flip side, right, again, there was just a flood of stories on this topic. I wanted to hit as many of them as we could. I saw a really nice opinion piece yet again from Tiffany Nieslanick from Business Insider. The title is, "My kids use AI as a tool, not a crutch. It's not going away, and I want them to know how to use it responsibly." And she's speaking specifically about her 12-year-old. So this would fit. She'd just be fine inside the under 13 Gemini. So in this personal essay, Tiffany, the parent, shares how she's guiding her children to use AI as a learning tool rather than a shortcut. So she's trying to build that kind of literacy. Where's that line at home? Her 12-year-old daughter uses ChatGPT to help understand coding and design, but insists on doing the work herself. So she understands the difference between collaborating with the AI and offloading a task to the AI. The family discusses AI's environmental impact, avoids frivolous uses, something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, save the AI. They model intentional, ethical engagement with the technology. So by fostering open conversations about privacy and misinformation and responsible use, she hopes that she can really prepare her children for the future. I love this quote. She said, "It's our hope that by giving our kids thoughtful guidance now, we're preparing them to be ethical, savvy users."
I love that. I think about how I use it with my kids doing work. So I do a lot of work with my sophomore in high school and my 8th grader. And just this weekend we were doing, she had to write a reflection and connect Gandhi's quote of, "To live simply, let others simply live," I believe is the quote. And she had to come up with a historical example of civil disobedience and nonviolent protest, which was obviously Gandhi's thing. And so we were talking and couldn't come up with something off the top of our head. They wanted a current issue. And so I asked ChatGPT for that. We didn't ask it to write the essay.
Sure.
I just said, what's an example? And it came back with climate change. And Tay was like, oh, Greta Thunberg. And we made all the connections. And so could we have sat there and thought a little harder? Probably. Did I also want to get the work done? Yeah. Once we got the topic, she had to do the critical thinking of how do you actually protest climate change? And so she thought about all the different things. But, that's how I use it a lot with my kids. I'll use it and like kind of give them curated information from ChatGPT. It's blocked on their school Chromebook, so they can't access it there. They're not using it on their phones a lot. So I feel like I am also teaching them how to use it as a help and as a guide. And I think that's kind of what came through at the student panel, too.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean, so as Tiffany described in that piece, right, it's about modeling. It's about, kind of keeping the flow going. When we get to the CatGPT story, a lot of this is about flow state. Like, how does AI act as a thought partner so you can kind of eliminate a little friction, but keep the learning and engagement moving along? So, yeah, I love it. Good examples. All right, one last piece in this whole world of, this is both good news, it's mostly good news actually, but in this whole world of AI safety and kids and being thoughtful, obviously we're living in a pretty neat political time. There's a lot of collaboration between the House and the Senate, between the three branches of government. A lot of bills move quickly through Congress. There's a lot of, unanimity in how we're working in the government in America.
I don't think that's true.
Oh. All right. In a rare moment of bipartisanship,
that's more like it, rare moment,
Congress passed the Take It Down Act, so it moved swiftly as a bipartisan bill through the House and the Senate to combat deepfakes and revenge porn. We've talked about this a bit, and I know that's like a heavy title. This is on the Associated Press. This is a heavy title, but a critical topic, right? So we speak a lot when we're working with schools about deepfakes and the need to have awareness around deepfakes among the kids and the teachers, because kids are using... Go see that 60 Minutes piece from Anderson Cooper where they take a nudification website, take a picture of a kid, put it into an appropriate kind of representation or porn, however you want to characterize it, and put it on the internet. This is happening all over the place. And one of the problems in schools is that there aren't AI policies and guidelines around that or awareness. And then also, as a country, state and federal law is like kind of AWOL on this thing. So Congress has passed this bill. It's a bipartisan bill targeting the spread of non-consensual intimate images, including AI-generated deep fakes. It criminalizes such content and mandates that platforms remove flag material within 48 hours, with further obligations to prevent re-uploads. It's funny because Melania Trump, how often do Melania Trump and Amy Klobuchar get together on a topic?
Yeah, not often, but they both support this. This whole movement was inspired by real cases involving teen victims. This isn't just theoretical. Maybe this will happen in the future. It's happening. We know it's happening, and we know it's seriously harmful to teenagers, but any other adult as well. So tech giants are backing the bill. There's some digital right groups that are afraid of overreach, vague language, potential censorship of legal or journalistic content. But in general, people are pretty supportive of this, and they should be.
Yeah, let's get this one over the line. All it really requires now is President Trump's signature. And as we have discovered in the last 100 days, he likes signing stuff.
He does.
Liz, let's talk avatars, right? We sometimes talk about beyond the bot because you and I are both convinced that the bot, the little flashing kind of text thing, is not the end point for AI. And so one of the next steps is the idea of an avatar. So this is an AI-generated character that fluidly can go back and forth with you, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the use of avatars in advertising we talked about last week, and we've seen it in other places. We've talked about it here. So this is a story about AI avatars from Harvard to tutor Israeli kids. So this story is by Raphael Kahan in Ynet News from April 30th, talking about these AI avatars.
Yeah, so this is a project from CET, which is Israel Center for Educational Technology. They design a lot of the K-12 curriculum, and they are also partnering with an Israeli startup called eSelf. I've watched a couple of videos from the company, which specializes in AI-generated avatars. The system is launching through this thing called the OFEC platform, and there's research in the article saying essentially that one-to-one tutoring is really, really effective. I think we know that is true. And so they're trying to bring this to scale in Israel. So we've covered stories from Estonia and China and Singapore and now the United States. This is Israel's sort of like big effort to leverage AI to accelerate learning. And they're mostly focusing on this kind of tutoring space.
Right. And is it mostly focusing on English language?
I think it's Hebrew and math, but we'll roll down here and see. So tell us about the cost.
Cost is a driving issue here. So private tutoring in Israel can run 150 to 250 shekels per hour. I did a little calculation. That's $40 to $70 an hour.
Nicely done.
Putting it out of reach for most families. So the pilot, in contrast, is initially free for 10,000 students with an affordable for all subscription model planned.
A freemium? Come on, really? Get out of here in EdTech. All right. So listen, we've talked avatars before. If you've been with us for a while, we talked about this thing called Sarah, which, Andre, I'm going to ask you if you can pull up into the video feed. And so Sarah it was from the World Health Organization. It was pretty cool, actually. It was like this avatar of this young woman in her 20s that is talking to you about smoking and tobacco and obesity and all sorts of stuff, but it was very fluid, just like having an advanced voice model conversation where we talk to the phone a lot. You and I demo that quite a bit in keynotes and other settings. This now you're looking at an avatar. And then we've also worked with one of our districts we work a lot with is using Speakology. And so I will have a little link to the Speakology platform or a photo from the Speakology, but that is actually an avatar. If you look at that photo, Liz, right? You can see that there.
Yeah, the kids like to talk to, I believe her name is Talia.
Talia.
And they speak to her in Espanol.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very careful here, but she's quite pretty, as is the Sarah bot. And we're going to talk a little bit about that whole phenomena in just a second. Yeah, so this is part of eSelf's tutors as avatar first, not text first.
These are fully animated, voice interactive, customizable in look and personality. Students can select how their tutor looks and sounds, which allows for deeper personal engagement.
Yeah, so Alan Becker, the CEO of eSelf, said that eSelf was built from the ground up to be focused, task-oriented private tutor. And what makes this noteworthy is the emphasis on pedagogical focus, not novelty. It's funny, they built this company originally as like financial services, but then saw all sorts of ways to use these tutors.
The avatars have kind of teacher-like capabilities. They do answer questions. They also present videos and images in real time. They redirect students who veer off task, which is something that's missing in many AI homework tools.
Yeah, so let's take a quick look at this and listen for the audio, folks. But here's eSelf's English tutor for a kid named Alex.
With eSelf, take your English learning app to the next level and give your students the
so we're looking at a number of different avatars we can select from. And frankly, you can see that this came from a financial services background because these all look like young bankers at Merrill Lynch. They're all white and quite attractive.
Give your students the first face-to-face English teacher powered by AI.
Liz, do you mind for the audio listener, can you describe the avatar that's actually speaking through this?
Yeah, she is pretty. She is young with beautiful ginger hair. What else do you want me to say?
A little makeup, kind of svelte.
She's skinny, very pretty, long red hair.
Okay,
young.
Let's carry on for especially for the video viewer.
Alex, pay attention. You should say it like that. My name is Alex.
So Liz, Alex wasn't paying attention there, was he?
I guess not.
What do you think might have been distracting Alex?
Maybe his AI tutor.
Look, this is not Liz's eye. You could see the discomfort across the table here looking at Liz's face. But I mean, I just find it sort of interesting. And look, we are a fan of Beyond the Bot, and we think that AI avatars may be an important part of the equation. I was talking to a really interesting edtech company a week or so ago because they had deployed AI avatars inside an application, very, very cool application they've been building. And when they looked at the usage, like, people didn't use the AI avatar that much. So we're going to need to determine. But what's interesting here is that this is a company, I mean, kudos, and let's get it out there. And hopefully Harvard's going to be a great partner, and we'll see how it goes. But I think when we think about the user interface and these kids picking avatars, I mean, Alex looked like he was about 12. So I'm not sure like a bunch of, smoking hot Merrill Lynch bankers is the avatar set that we're looking for. But
you want them to all be frumpy 40-year-old teachers that look like me?
I want them to be diverse.
Yes.
I don't know. I might want them to be like R2-D2. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think this is the thing. We are, as is the case with all AI in education, we are inventing pedagogy right under our eyes. And so I think we'll need to think critically about it. But that part just cracked me up. It's like, Alex, pay attention. I'm like, Alex, why are you so distracted? All right. Shall we carry on?
We should.
All right. So, one of the key questions is, can a digital avatar, make a personal connection, as we've been talking about before, and build empathy, kind of part of the one-on-one tutoring. And I guess Harvard's part of that equation?
Yeah, I mean, they're serving as the project's academic advisor. They're helping to evaluate impact and ensure the system is more than just a flashy interface. They point out that this is a high-profile credential for an AI education pilot, so it could be really interesting.
Liz, what are you looking at? Liz, pay attention. I wish I was a smoking hot Merrill Lynch banker.
If you enjoy Matt and Liz's insights on AI and education, don't miss their next 6-week AI and K-12 education micro-credential, launching this summer in partnership with Southern Connecticut State University. This self-paced online course covers AI essentials for educators, from foundational concepts to advanced skills like prompting, AI-driven assessments, and multimedia creation. Each cohort includes 4 live Zoom sessions for hands-on support, and participants earn a Credly digital credential. Visit skills21.org/AI/micro to sign up now. Group discounts are available for schools and districts. We hope you can join us.
All right, Matt, now it's time to go beneath the surface with a story by CatGPT, or Catherine Getz, in Time magazine. And the story is called "The Real Reason Why Students Are Using AI to Avoid Learning."
CatGPT is quite entertaining on the TikTok if you spend time on that space. Liz, I love a dramatic reading with Dr. Liz Ratty. Do you mind opening up? Her open to the whole piece was really interesting. I mean, frankly, we've covered this thread many, many times. Why are kids using AI? Are they taking shortcuts? Is it cheating? But this is a novel and slightly different take. Also involves some learning they'll love, so I couldn't help myself.
Let's talk about it.
But just read us in, Liz.
All right. The confession hung in the air between us, startling in its honesty. My sister, a college senior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and one of the most hardworking people I know, wasn't joking. We were sitting at the kitchen table late one night, sipping tea when she said it. She stared into her mug. AI is replacing my critical thinking skills, she admitted quietly. I know it's not ideal, but it's so tempting. As a communication science and rhetorical studies major, she's no stranger to intense workloads. Like many students, she's used AI here and there to help summarize dense readings, brainstorm essay topics, and generate structure when she's stuck. She was trying not to rely on it too heavily, but she noticed this required a great deal of willpower. She reminisced about her freshman self, recalling a time when writing essays felt challenging yet rewarding, when her mind felt sharper. Now, as a senior, she told me the process feels hollow. Her roommates, who refuse to use AI, can sit down and craft an entire essay from scratch, she told me, with a mix of admiration and quiet longing. While she acknowledged that her grades are climbing higher, she wasn't particularly proud. She didn't sound like someone who was ever looking for an easy shortcut. She sounded like someone waving a white flag. As someone who remembers when the first iPhone came out, but also came of age during the rise of Instagram, I've felt the impact of new platforms firsthand. Young people are often the first to feel the effects of new technology long before the grown-ups can fully articulate what's happening. Like animals before an earthquake, they sense the shift before we do. So I started asking more students about their experiences with AI. Admittedly, I expected to hear a chorus of similar confessions, but the diversity of answers I received revealed something far more complex. I realized that the widespread panic around AI destroying education conceals a deeper issue. The root culprit isn't AI, it's the erosion of our attention spans. And this is a problem AI didn't create, social media did.
Nice reading.
Thank you. I really would love to be an audiobook narrator, so Audible, if you're listening, I'm available.
Sorry, that's not a job anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah. Thanks, AI.
But I did a great job reading to my kids.
Yeah, I love that bit about it. Kids are like animals before the earthquake.
Before the earthquake.
They sense what's coming. I mean, it's really interesting. And whenever these things are binaries, nothing is true, right? It's not all the kids are all cheating and taking shortcuts because they have no morals and don't care about learning. It's not all that social media has hacked our attention span. But she's one of the first people I've heard. We've talked a lot about this attention span bit, but it's interesting because she's arguing it's really more about conditioning, right? So Get's thesis is that the real issue with AI is the erosion of our attention span, and that social media has created, long before ChatGPT. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube have all gotten us used for like just looking for these quick dopamine hits. And so when ChatGPT is knocking out an essay for you or doing a real chunk of work, it's like scrolling through a TikTok video. I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's a really interesting argument.
Yeah, I mean, I find my own attention span is so short. Like, I do nothing at 1x speed anymore. I listen to books at 1.75. I watch all my YouTube videos at 1.5, 1.75. Like, I can't even, I want to watch TV on fast forward. Like, what is my problem? This is supposed to be entertaining, but.
You debated your chatbot, though, at human speed.
I did. But, these platforms have all hacked our brains for dopamine.
Yeah, but what's cool here is that Getz isn't just saying like, oh, that's it, AI hacked our attention span. She points out that AI actually can flip the script entirely, right? Which we talked about before with this whole idea of flow. So, she notes that you can have all sorts of kids not avoiding work, but instead finding complexity. For every misuser, there's another one embracing AI to learn more deeply.
Yeah, I mean, some students are using it in really deep ways, asking AI to explain calculus, building practice tests, asking what they think might be the dumb question they're too embarrassed to ask in class. And so they are using it to go deep. And if you take it outside of school, they're doing the same thing. Like, you could just scroll on TikTok and watch a million silly videos, or you could go really deep and like spend a lot of time learning about a topic you're interested in and just don't have access to during the school day.
And then make a video about that topic because you're a content creator too. And that's where you get into flow. It's like the action between AI and research and media. So it's really interesting. And I think we just need to get better at finding the language. Leon Furz's AI assessment scale, I think, does some of this, but we need to just kind of find the language that we can all coalesce around. The difference between a shortcut, and in this case, those couple examples were more like tutor, make me some practice questions, help me understand a topic, explain this to me, have a voice conversation. Then there's also the whole world of learning they'll love, right?
That's right.
Hip, hip, hooray. So we've argued for quite some time. I think this is really how we got into this, that AI could be this remarkable coach when kids are going deep on something they care about.
Yeah, 100%. It can help them lose track of time while they're diving into something like filmmaking, composing music, writing code for a game that they dreamed up, doing a little vibe coding. Whatever it is that they want to learn more about through the use of AI is amazing. And yet, it still makes them do the learning, right? Like, you could just scroll TikTok endlessly and be entertained, but you're not learning if you're not taking those things and applying it, where there's plenty of examples of kids using AI to learn and go deep.
Right. You've got this kind of super patient, you never can ask a dumb question, highly personalized, highly adaptable. So if I'm the kid and I want to build a compost bin in my school, I suddenly have like this great thought partner, right? So, or a kid that's curious about climate change can dig as far as they want, and they can spend hours going, I'm going to come up with a new startup idea, and I'm going to build a pitch deck on what we can do about carbon capture. We saw it in the story that we covered with the Samsung, I think it's like Inventing or Innovating for Tomorrow challenge, where 60% of the projects had kids using AI either in their solutions or in their iteration, the design of their projects. So, a kid who's unsure about their college major, whether they want to explore neuroscience or something else, can wind up just going deep. So I think a lot of it is about how do we find that flow state and how do we leverage AI as part of the flow state?
Yeah, because I think we have to stop thinking that AI is replacing learning. And in a lot of ways, it's reviving it. It's getting kids so excited to learn about something they're excited about.
Yeah, so a lot of it's really about how we frame it. I did want to drop in Barbara Zilanka, who we love and has that AI advisory boards, dropped in this really cool little bit that we'll tag here. It's AI Trust. This is a Chrome extension designed to bring clarity and accountability to AI usage in classrooms. So basically, they were partnering with a school district in Stanford, and they built this little Chrome extension that's a bit like Leon Furz's thing, but it basically just automatically helps the student document what they're doing. So it's got these categories. They're using AI for content curation, for content understanding, for research assistance, or for audiovisual generation. So the Chrome extension sits inside the browser and can reflect back some analytics and intelligence. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but you could totally see a scenario where there's like a continuum from shortcut to academic coach to coming up with practice exams to research to deeper research to creation and flow state, right? And this little Chrome extension can, like tell you how flow are you.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think, this is all up to all of us that are working in this space, professional learning and supporting teachers and teachers themselves experimenting in the classroom. But I did really like Getz's, she's not just blaming the kids. She's sort of blaming society and culture and technology for hacking our attention span, but pointing out that, AI can flip the script if we give kids the right learning context. Learning that they might, Learning they might
love.
Love. And if you don't know why we keep saying that, this is the official name of Liz's forthcoming book about personal interest projects and AI, published by ASCD.
All right, Matt, now it's time for another Bright Bite.
Yes, Bright Bites are each week we point out somewhere where AI is making a meaningful contribution to health, society, culture, all the ways that we live, learn, earn, work, and play. So this is AI-driven 3D reconstruction for enhanced lung surgery planning. This is so cool. This is in Nature Communications, came out on May 1st, just a couple days ago. All right, so tell us about this, Liz.
Yeah, so there is a new AI system that builds personalized 3D lung models from CT scans that dramatically improves surgical planning. So this was tested on 140 cases across 10 surgeons, and the AI increased accuracy in identifying anatomical variants by 8%, reduced planning errors by 41%, and cut pre-op planning time by 25%.
This is so cool. So basically, they're taking a 2D scan and turning it into a 3D model.
Yeah.
In seconds or minutes. And then the surgeons can kind of manipulate that model and then plan and prepare better. Yeah, the system generated patient-specific models in under 4 minutes using a deep learning-based segmentation pipeline, which is a huge improvement over manual methods. Satisfaction with the tool was 99%, and benefits were seen across surgeon experience levels. This really highlights AI's ability to make 3D imaging fast, accurate, and clinically usable. I was reading the whole study, and the surgeons sometimes have a debate about, imagine a surgeon might have a tiny little bit of ego about their skill and blah, blah, blah. So the amount of debates that they have about how to approach the particular surgery because they're working off of this customized AI 3D model, this is wild. I spoke a while ago, a month or so ago, at this thing called, at our Superintendents Association conference. And just outside my door was this company called Z-Space. When we were doing the augmented reality NSF grant, we saw these guys a little bit. But they basically, off of a Windows machine, out pops all these 3D models. It could be a set of brakes or it could be a heart. And you can use your hands or a pen and kind of move around the thing without goggles on. It's super cool. But imagine when, the Z spaces of the world are able to do like we've talked about this before, like text to 3D model, which we can almost do now. That's why these doctors are able to do it with these highly specialized systems. But how cool when this gets into K-12, where teachers can create 3D models on the fly, and then without glasses, students can manipulate them and, understand them in a really experiential way. I love the future.
Yeah, I think about how much of science we learn in 2D that is really 3D. Like in my head, all cells are flat and have, I could label a cell. I've done it a million times since I was in probably 7th grade. You label that silly cell with the vacuoles and the mitochondria and whatever. But a cell is not actually flat. They're spherical, I would assume, or blob shaped. And so much, we study all of anatomy in flat books, and to be able to understand and see that all in 3D will be really powerful. It's amazing actually how much we learn in 2D for the world that is 3D.
Yep. Well, let's flip the script, AI. Let's get that stuff in 3D.
Yeah.
Love it. Maybe Alex will pay better attention when his avatar is in 3D.
Perhaps.
Or maybe less attention.
Or maybe even less, yes.
All right, Liz, what a great place to end. So what do you say we
roll the credits? As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the executive director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoyed the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, and our micro-credential co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you again for listening to ChatEDU.